Oh, you gotta be yourself because everybody else is fool.
That's why it's crazy we chose the name Klippah Talk.
Then going to the barbershop, sitting around.
I was saying, I ain't that. It's a nice little reminder.
If it bleeds, it leads. 100%.
Like, hey, they want to say what they want to say, but we gonna let these Clippers talk.
I think that's it.
All right. Welcome to Klippah Talk. Today we have a special edition. Today we're going to be featuring a very important person of the community who's looking to make the community even better and to find out the issues where we can tweak it and get back to the place where we once were, where we were thriving people who was part of a society that provided for themselves. And today we want to prove a point to where we all can be on the same page if we give information rather than me having to attack the character of a person. Why not just work together? Even if we don't share the same beliefs, we should still be able to work together. So we're going to call this one contrast and agreement. And this, I want to give symbolism to our community, how it's divided, but we can find one common thread to stick together. So I would like to introduce Miss Kim Sexton-Lewter, and I will let her introduce herself and give a little bit background information about what she has going on at the present moment.
All right. Well, thank you. I am actually Dr. Kim Sexton-Lewter, and I'm excited to be here today.
Yes, ma'am.
I am a candidate for senator here in North Carolina, specifically this district, Cabarrus County, Senate District 34. And I would say I was your typical round-the-way girl if I were talking to a group of New York folks, as New York is my home. But I have been here in North Carolina now for nearly 30 years. My husband and I moved here in 1996 to pursue our graduate degrees, and here we still are in 2024. And so I am a wife, a mom, a community organizer, an educator, a concerned neighbor, and I like to consider myself just an all-around good person. And so I am here seeking to be the change that is needed here in North Carolina in running for this seat for Senate. So that's quick me in a nutshell.
Yes, ma'am, and we appreciate that introduction. I didn't notice you guys were here that long, but you can no longer say New York. You got to say you're Carolinian now, North Carolinian.
Right.
But given that information, I want to ask you another question. Is there anything else about yourself that is definitive of your current choice of servitude?
I think for me, I have always been a leader and a servant. And so servant leadership is kind of my thing. From the time when I was just a tot from elementary school, my playground friends will talk about me organizing and always seeking justice and always wanting more, never being satisfied, and always being that person who was willing to buck the system. And so from leading a bunch of 6-year-old, 7-year-olds in the playground, talking about one of these days Black's gonna take over, to the work that I do now, it's just kind of indicative of who I am and who I've always been.
Yes, ma'am. So now I'm gonna ask you a question about, as a non-partisan voter, I research candidates and their core beliefs and issues that they hold true. What is the thing that affects everyone, regardless of race, gender, wealth status, that you hold true?
Basically, those basic needs. Everybody needs a roof over their head. Everybody needs food. Everybody needs shelter. Everybody needs to be in a space where they can thrive. And I think that regardless of your political affiliation or your lack thereof, we can all agree that people should be entitled to just those basic necessities that you need to thrive in life. And so those are issues that I think cross all boundaries that everybody should be willing to advocate for and to fight for. And that's pretty much how my platform is set up, really trying to make sure that everybody has a safe place to live, affordable housing, safe drinking water, opportunities to work and to thrive and to be able to support their family, and just the right to your own body autonomy and to make decisions for yourself and not have government interfering with it. So in a nutshell, I think that the things that I believe in and the things that I'm willing to fight for are just basic human rights that everyone is entitled to.
That's a strong platform, because when we look at where society is now, a lot of people speak, but when they speak distractions. But the things that we just heard, like, this is what is needed on the political platform. So many people talk about distractions, like you have people dealing with day-to-day issues as far as how am I going to feed my family, daycare. You have people concerned about, gas, getting back, to get to work. And that's the platform that I think a lot of people are listening to, because a lot of voters are like, okay, we understand the distractions, but let's get to the basic needs and necessities. And your voice right now is this is one of the very few times that I've heard someone speak on the level of day-to-day. So, because I've seen a lot of people that are not engaged. And if we look at the political platforms now, we see a lot of people stand up, and we could tell by the conversation that they're having that it doesn't touch every household. It's only touching the household of those who I would call their colleagues. But the people are crying out for people that understand that, hey, going to this grocery store, I can't walk away with bags like I used to. We got to go in here and we got to really think. A lot of people can't buy extras. You got a lot of people going in and they're getting, it's sad because I see people, they'll pick up meat and bread and they pass on the vegetables. So hearing you say that, I think that's going to register with a lot of people as far as understanding that you are engaged, that you understand the struggle, you understand the day-to-day, and that your voice is needed in Raleigh. We need someone on that floor that's gonna speak from the platform that we the people. To me, it's gotten away from we the people.
Right.
It's kind of like us the people and y'all the folks, if we had to put it in general terms.
Right. I mean, I absolutely agree, and that's a big reason why I'm running. And part of my platform, and anytime you hear me speak, one of my main points is that the people in this district deserve to send someone like them to Raleigh, someone who understands the everyday concerns of working people. Currently, our legislator in this particular district, our senator is a very wealthy, retired Duke Energy person who doesn't understand having to pay a mortgage, having to pay a car note, having to have multiple kids in daycare, having to advocate for the public schools, because he doesn't live that life.
Right.
And it is so important for people who live amongst you and who know your struggles to be the people who are representing you. And that's exactly why I'm running. I know the struggle. I grew up in public housing with a single mom. And so when I hear people talk about, oh, you're destined to this or you're destined to that, or being a product of the environment, I have some real life experience that say, well, if you put certain things in place, certain protective factors in place, you can beat those odds that come with those circumstances. And so I want people to recognize that. I want people to see me and recognize that that's the same Kim from the projects in Brooklyn that's down here doing this type of work. And so I don't want people representing me who are making deals with corporations to move their businesses here to Cabarrus County, to Kannapolis, to Concord, to Harrisburg, Mount Pleasant, Midland, all of the municipalities within this district. They make deals with these corporations and cut all type of breaks for them. They give them all type of tax breaks to be here and make it worth their while. And then they put those costs on us, the folks who actually live here. Our taxes increase. We can't even afford to do the simple things like have a full grocery cart because they're busy cutting deals with everybody else and making up that money by charging us. And so I absolutely oppose this type of stuff. And I know that there are others in the General Assembly who oppose it, but because we have this supermajority right now of folks who just don't particularly care about the everyday working folks, we can't get any kind of legislation, or we just don't see things coming that actually help people like me, people like you.
Right.
You know, small business owners, big business owners, just folks trying to, have a shot at life. And so that's why I'm running, because I think that we deserve to have someone that knows where folks come from, that knows the everyday struggle of trying to raise a family, having to work several jobs to get what you need, having to hustle. My husband and I had to hustle working between different shifts at one point because we couldn't afford daycare. So he'd work the first shift, I worked the second shift, and we'd pass the kids off, in the middle of changing because we understand what it's like. And that's two people with college degrees just trying to make a way. And so we know that looks different for a lot of folks because a lot of folks don't have that opportunity. You talked about, wanting to put gas in your car, being able to put gas in your car and get where you need to go. I take it further than that. We shouldn't have to worry about having a car. We should have transportation that can get us back and forth where we need to be so we don't have to have a car note and insurance. But our public transportation system doesn't tailor to that because they tailor to folks who are elite and who have 3 and 4 cars in their driveway and in their garage. And so, no, we need an infrastructure that supports people getting back and forth and being able to get to work without necessarily having a car.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Now, you made a superlative point when you was talking about the corporations and when you made the statement about small business. Now, when I go into stores, I'm seeing the corporations very intricately sliding themselves into society and doing a takeover. Simple trip to Lowe's. If you look on, you'll see if you buy one of their products, it may be $12.99. But if you buy in bulk, it'll be $6.99. So, and I'm looking at it from a business perspective. I'm looking at the mom and pop shops in the area that people go in and they're complaining about the prices because these people can't afford to buy in bulk. Their margin and their budget just doesn't fit bulk, but it fits getting enough to stay in operation. So I'm seeing big fish start to really eat little fish. And that's the buffer that a lot of people are crying for. A lot of people are asking, especially small business owners. We had to adjust our prices a little bit because we see it just even in our industry, how the suppliers have to charge more because of the gas. Our suppliers have to charge more because they're not able to compete with the other companies that are buying in bulk because they're small businesses themselves. So I went from buying one product that used to be like $4.99. It's $12.99 now. And understanding business, I see the gas in it. I see, the lunch that they have to get in it. I see the extra price added on by the people that are selling them the product because they're not buying in bulk. So my question is how would we, the people, come together and let our voices be heard in these situations and these changes? Because petitions, you can do petitions, but so many people are divided to where the petition doesn't work because people feel they don't truly believe everything that a person is saying. So I think we need to get to a point where we understand that the common core and what you spoke on is what we're going to have to stand with.
Yeah, and so I think as a people, there's several ways that we combat that. The first way I'm going to say, which is going to be a shameless plug for me, is you vote out those folks who favor corporations over people.
Right.
You get rid of them. You tell them goodbye, let this be their last term, and you elect people like me who have their finger on the pulse of the community and know what small businesses need. So that's what you do as a people. As a community organizer, which I have spent 30 years as a professional community organizer and even as a grassroots community organizer and volunteer in my community, I say that's when we as a people organize. That's when you and all of the other barbershops that you know across Cabarrus County get together and organize your own consortium of barbershops and things. And so if you know we've got to order this and they're charging this if I buy just this for our store, but what if we go in and make that order together? And that's where you get everybody together and you organize. That's how a lot of small businesses in other communities thrive.
Right.
You know, all those beauty supply stores and other things, they're small businesses, but when they're ordering amongst the 20 other similar businesses, whether they're related or not, it helps them to alleviate those type of price gauges that these corporations do. And that's how we have to organize as a people. We need to make sure, okay, if this is how this is going to go, then I need to make sure that I'm connected with everybody, because we sometimes fail to realize that we are so much stronger together. It is not just that cliche thing that we say all the time, you know, stronger together. No, let's do this together. I'm not in competition with the other shop on the other side of town. We all out here trying to give the best service that we can give. And how can we give our constituents or our customers better service? By working together and ordering our stuff in bulk together and splitting it amongst ourselves so that we can save ourselves the price, and then we can save our customers on the price too, because we don't have to turn around and, you know, put that cost on them because we spent so much money on it. And so I see that as a community organizing opportunity for people like me who organize communities, to make sure that we're having these conversations, we're getting in together, and we're doing the things that we need to do as a people. And that could be black barbershops, you know, that can be, you know, I mean, whoever you can pull in to your, whoever you can pull in as stakeholders is be important for you and for the community as a whole to organize and do it together.
Kind of sounds like the way we used to operate when we were a people. You know, how we would go from our community, take the money, go purchase what we had to purchase, come back, had a storehouse, and from that storehouse we distributed the way that we needed it. And you made a strong point to where, like, I think so many people have been programmed to think that if you did something different, that you are alien. And so common thought and organization is what's lacking, not only in our community, but all communities. And we see the elite slowly picking us apart. Like, when we go out this door now, it's a lot of people that don't look like us. They're standing on them corners with their hands out now. So that trickle-down effect that hit us is now hitting everybody. Now, I want to ask you another question. Like, what upheavals have you had to face? Like, your opposition. Like, what has been done to try to prevent you from getting to that final stage, from representing the people?
So far, I can say not a whole lot has been done. I think that the community as a whole is very supportive. I'm new to politics. I've been a community organizer for years, but I've never been the person running for office. And so I will say that the people who know me, who work with me, and different things that I've done have been very supportive in the capacity that they can be supportive, you know, because a lot of folks don't know what it takes to run a campaign and how to make things work. But my opponent, who really shouldn't be paying any attention to me because he is, you know, the Senate Majority Leader, but apparently he is. And so his tactic has been to attack my academic work around racism that talks about unveiling and deconstructing whiteness, and how what we need as a society is to just do away with this whole system of white supremacy And so this is something that I talk about very candidly because I recognize that this is something that's going to help everybody. It's not going to just advance people of color, but it's going to help white people as well,
Right.
because racism is killing us. And
Right.
so I've written my research and my dissertation is around that whole concept of racism, but not from the perspective of how it hurts Black people, because we all know that. Like, we live
Right.
that life every day. We
Right.
all know how racism impacts us as a people. So my research is on how racism benefits white folks. So let's dismantle
Right.
that. Let's talk.
Right.
Let's talk about that. And so my opponent has used this research to do polls around me to scare white people who would otherwise think, oh, this is a good candidate, she's down for us, but to make them think that, you know, that I have some kind of disdain for white people, which I do not.
Right.
I love all humans, and I want all humans to be the best that they can be. And the one way that we can do that is by dismantling and deconstructing this racist system that we live in,
Right.
and moving us forward. And so that's been, that's been a bit of a challenge, because people have been getting these polls about me, and, they're like, oh my gosh, we didn't know you thought like that. Well, I don't.
Right.
Go take some time. They went and pulled my dissertation. You go read it too, so you can see what it said. Because all they did is take the scariest quotes they can find and just throw them out there.
Right.
And so the fact that you would actually be able to take some empirical research, because this is fact, this is not something that just came out of my head. All of the comments and the things that I made about whiteness are all facts that have been backed by scholars for years. They're scholars, not even, folks that look like us. They're
Right.
scholars. And so, to use that as the leverage against me, that's what they've done. They've also taken work that I've done with underage drinking. I tell you, I'm a community organizer by trade. I've been doing this my entire life, and I've done a lot of work around underage drinking and high-risk drinking. And I've led coalitions to help safer communities and to help our young people refrain or prevent them from getting involved with drugs and alcohol. And so there's also been conversation about how I advocated to raise taxes on beer. And yes, we did. We were trying to raise the excess tax on beer and to make it harder for college students to buy kegs and have parties and just
Right.
get in trouble and harm themselves in a community based on that over drinking or underage drinking. And so again, what has he actually done to help prevent underage drinking or to help communities solve this problem that we have with our youth? Absolutely nothing. And so my opponent has taken things that I have done that I am most proud of and tried to flip them into these negative polls to scare people. And the last thing was about my work. I believe in reentry and second chance work. And for a living, my professional job, I work for the Center for Community Transitions, and we work to make sure that people who are justice impacted and have had bouts with the criminal legal system have a fair shot once they've done their time and they come back into society. And so that's another thing that has been twisted about, I want criminals to be out of jail and I want them, the taxpayers, to pay for them to live comfortably. No, I want for them to have a shot. They have done their time and now they are back in society, and we need to remove all the barriers that stop them from thriving. And so, when you ask me what have I had to deal with, that's what I've had to deal with. I've had to deal with some of the good work that I do in the community that impacts everybody.
Right.
And it's just been turned around like I am not a good person because of those things. And so, I'll take it anyway. If it gets folks to actually do some research and learn more about me, great. Those folks who look at that stuff and get scared, they weren't going to vote for me anyway.
Right.
So
They're looking for an excuse
Yeah.
not to.
You on his heels.
Right.
He gonna pick whatever he can to make you fall out.
And when you smell fear in the water, I mean, for you to do the things that you're doing in the community, my grandfather always told me, a lazy man always criticizes the hardworking man.
Right.
So going off what you said, I see you active in the community, and I see another man narrating your work in the community, and his narration is based off the fact that he sits on high, and he doesn't come low to find out what the people need. And so, like, I can definitely see the passion. It's not just, like, I'm a barber. And, he and I did an episode where we was talking about if there was something that you could do and didn't earn a salary. Like, it fulfills your life. We sit in here sometimes 12, 14 hours, and we forget that 12 or 14 hours pass because we're enjoying ourselves. We're engaging with the people. We're doing something that we want to do. And I can see that energy in you. This is your passion. This is not just something that you decided, hey, I want to do. You actually been feeling this for years. Would you credit that to your early humble beginnings?
Definitely to my humble beginnings and just to my thirst for, like I told you when I first started talking, like I always wanted things to be better.
Right.
And it came to a time where I realized that I was the change, again, not just trying to be cliche, but I am the change that folks have been waiting for. I need to be that change. And so that's a popular quote that we all like to say, like, be the change that you wish to see. Well, finally internalizing that and making it real. It's like, yeah, you are the change. And so when several folks approached me about running for this particular position, and I said no. I was like, this is not what I do. I give politicians the business. I'm not about the business of politics. But now I'm about the business of politics because it needs to be everyday people like me who are not only giving politicians the business, but being about the business of politics and putting the people back into the work.
Right.
It's not about corporations, it's not about big business, and it's not about how much money you can make off of this. It's about how do we see people thrive? What do we need to thrive? Public school education should not be privatized, which is what our current administration is trying to do. They are trying to take the public school education is what saved me.
Right.
Like, I used education as my way out, as my ladder to climb. And you're trying to take those dollars out of public schools so that other children like me don't have opportunities. I have a problem with that. And I can't sit back and say, now that I have, I've done well, and it's okay for those coming up after me not to have the same opportunities. No, that's absolutely not okay. And somebody needs to be fighting for that. Instead of taking dollars out of public schools and giving them these vouchers so that folks can send their kids to private school, why not put those services and those resources in the public school so everybody has access to them? If there's something in that private school that's so good that I need to take my kids and send them there and pay the money to do it, why not take those services and put them in the public school so everybody can get what it is that is needed, not just this child that can afford to do that. And so I'm here fighting for that because we need somebody that's going to fight for these public schools, that's going to make sure that our children are getting everything that they need and that their futures are as bright as they can possibly be because there's opportunities right there in the school that they go to.
Okay. Now, we've been having a discussion all week long pertaining to the public schools in a demographic that's not wealthy. And there's a deterioration of those schools because, number one, the sources and what you just said, and we did a earlier podcast about education where I learned that the vouchers in the charter schools, they benefit from the educational system by taking money away from the public schools. Mm-hmm. So, and we're looking at the public schools lack education to send these kids out. So I'm saying this to say, do you think there needs to be an overhaul and a reform of the current curriculum that's been given? Because there's no more trades. A lot of kids leave school now and they don't have an idea of what they want to do in life. When other countries, other nations, school is used to train you. So when you reach around 15, 16, they're ready to go out into the communities and be productive, with trades or further their education. But our children are leaving these schools because of the lack of funding and the curriculum, and they're basically babysitting our kids. What reform could we do, or what can we organize to try to retrieve some of that money to put education back into our schools, skills and trades back into our schools, and send out productive young women and men, rather than sending these kids out into the world who have no clue what they want to do next.
Right. And you've already addressed what the solution is, to put the programs back in the school. They don't need to go to a specialized school to do that. If we had an automotive program, I remember when I was in high school, we had an automotive program right there at the school where the folks who would come, the guys loved being able to go and work on them cars full time, and for the people in the community to be able to bring their cars to the high school shop so they could pay a discounted price for some students to figure out what was wrong with that. We need to get back to that. Right. All of those trades need to be back in the school system. I remember what we called shop in the 80s. We would take shop, whether it was metal, whether it was ceramic, whether it was automotive, even culinary arts. They were all classes that we were excited that when we were finally able to register early enough that we can get those things on the schedule. They need to be back in the public schools. Right. That's exactly what we need to do, because everybody is not going to go off to college, and everyone is not going to go off and, to these different secondary institutions that, they can get a lot of stuff right out of high school. See, I grew up with not a lot of pressure to go to college, because there was a lot of opportunity that I could have stepped into as a high school graduate. I could have taken a test and, done something with NYPD. I could have done the transit authority. I could have drove a bus. I could have worked for housing authorities, all of these different municipal jobs that were good jobs that the whole middle class, working class was built off of back then. But they were reserved for people that didn't look like me.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so you had to take these standardized tests in order to get involved. And, sometimes we didn't score as well on the test, not because we were not as intelligent as someone else, because the tests were not really made for everybody to be able to excel in. And so I say we need to get back to that. We need to remove the stigma of standardized tests that often disenfranchise people who are not white, period. And we need to make sure that the schools have these different things in place. We can have specialized schools. They just need to be public schools. Right. There could be a place for charter schools, but they need to regulate it so that they're not able to abuse the money. Because there are a lot of charter schools that are good schools that have done great things, and we are grateful for them. And then there's a lot of schools who have wasted tons of money and have pretty much robbed the people robbed the public schools. And, it's like no real consequence for them for what they've done. And so if we're going to have charter schools, we need to have better governance of how, the monies are spent. And when that money leaves, when you decide to leave your public school and go to the charter school, that money goes with you. But when that charter school doesn't work and, things go wrong there, and then they end up back in the public school, that money doesn't come back with the child. Right. And then public schools are left to struggle and figure it out because they can't deny the child the education. Right. But their money for that child is already gone. And so we've got to work out something on a statewide level, on a governmental level, that is controlling for those type of things. Right. Something that protects those public schools so that, we don't want people to not have opportunities, because a lot of the charter schools, again, great ideas, and for them to get the money to do this, especially those that were purposed to work with children, with Black children, there's a lot of programs doing great things, but there's just so many others that took advantage of this money, didn't do their due diligence with what they were supposed to be doing, and ended up just kind of cheating the system and robbing the system. And so those schools take a bad rap, give the schools who are trying to do good things a bad rap. And so we have to figure out, how do we adequately govern what's going on so that people are not able to take advantage of that. And, I'm not saying that I know exactly how to do it, but I know we need to sit down, strategize, and put some stuff in place so that we can better monitor and control that.
So that's what I'm hearing, and the facts, because you stated some of the same things that another gentleman who was part of the educational system brought up. So I'm looking at it from this perspective. This was set up pretty much without regulation.
Right. All right.
Yeah. And so, when there's not regulation, some people take advantage of it just for profit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there needs to be better regulation of
Right.
money. Right. It does. And you can regulate it better if this charter school that has this idea, because again, I don't want to say all charter schools are bad, because I know some charter schools that are doing great things and have done great things. But this whole concept of, taking public school dollars and giving it to families so they can put their child in school that have these other services that they can't get at the public school, I'm saying, let's put those services in the public school.
Right.
Why, if we believe this is a good thing and that children need it, if this child needs it, then them other 100 some odd kids need it also. And so the focus should be that. Let's not have another school and do it. Let's put those services there. Let's bring those teachers there. Let's pay the teachers more so that the people who have these specialized talents will be willing to come and teach it in the public school. But if they can't make any money, people don't go to school and learn all that stuff they need, whether it's as a mechanic or whatever it is, they need to be able to make money. And the way we pay our teachers, they can't make that money in a public school. No. And so we need to pay our teachers more so that the talent can come there, so people can spend all that time. There's always a struggle with science and math and STEM teachers, right? Because people pay a lot of money in those programs, and those are tough programs to get through. And then you can't come, now you want to come and teach engineering at a public school and make $30,000 an hour. I don't even know what teachers are making now, but I don't think they've hit a full $40,000 an hour. No. And that makes no sense.
No.
That makes absolutely no sense, that these folks who are responsible for cultivating young minds, they are responsible for the future, and we don't want to pay them, but we'll pay these other folks.
These athletes.
Who contribute nothing except entertainment, but that's where our priority is making sure that entertainers are paid and not our teachers.
I think ultimately that's where it begins, with paying the teachers, because I think a lot of teachers are they'll not use, but I think a lot of teachers will put more effort into a classroom, into their jobs to make that. I really think that's where it needs to start.
Absolutely. Yeah, I started my career as a classroom teacher. That's how my husband and I met. I was the English teacher. He was the social studies teacher. We loved what we did.
Right.
And we put a lot of work into it. We also put a lot of money into it. We were literally, buying clothes for our students, trying to make sure they had what they needed, besides the fact that we wasn't making but pennies ourselves.
Right.
But the type of energy, and you just can't get good people to stay in those. There's always going to be those people who, I love this and I would do it for free if I could.
Right.
But
reality.
We got to raise families. We got to live in cars, and you can't even be in North Carolina without a car. So we got to be able to pay car notes and gas and this and that. And we can't do this off of your teacher's salary. And we got all this student debt from going to school, and then we come home to get a job, and we can't even live, let alone pay back the loans that we used to go to school. So we've got to make all of that relative. We've got a lot of folks who were able, they were trust fund babies, and they don't understand student debt because they didn't have any.
Right.
Because they were able, they had everything handed to them, and they're making the laws and the decisions about that, and that's a problem.
Right. And we can attribute entertainment to that, because in our community, it frustrates me for something to happen And quote unquote, I'm just going to use a popular name in our community. They get the Jay-Z's, they get the Oprah Winfrey's, they get all these people to speak for us who do no longer live that way. They're in the upper echelon. They're the restaurants they go to, we saved to go to. So they're taking people who are disengaged and they're having them speak like they're engaged for the people. And it's a reflection, and I'm hearing it from you, it's in politics. And we look at every facet of life, that's what's happening now. We're getting wealthy people to speak for the majority.
Right.
And that's dangerous.
It is. It is.
Now, there's another thing that you brought up about how you and your husband, you had to take money out of your pockets to supplement for the lack of resources that some of the parents may have. I think in our communities, the aid to schools, the PTA needs to be, I think we need to make it more colorful so that we can get the parents more engaged, because that's, especially in our communities, our children are lacking because the parents don't understand that education needs to continue in the home. You know, a lot of the values and morals that we were taught as kids has been lost. And so part of the educational system, I hear people complain about, I don't want my kids to go to the school because of the crime, because of the violence, because of the disrespect that school is engaging in. So to tackle that problem from a political standpoint, like what angle or what facet, does there need to be a community, something that we can do as a community wise, or information that we can put out in the community? What can we do to make these schools more attractive? Because me, myself, I put my kids in what I consider prestigious schools. And I did it from the perspective of a lot of things that are being taught in our communities brings trauma later on. Like, I dealt with trauma, and the trauma that I dealt with was I normalized things that were criminal and things that weren't right, because we see it so often and it becomes part of our culture. We begin to think that, oh, this is okay.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? So what can we do as a community to try, this in your district, what would you try to implement in your district to make these schools more appealing? And how do we combat the situations and the problems that exist in these schools?
I think most importantly is communities being a part of the school.
Right.
Is important. One of the unique things about Kannapolis, and I just had a conversation yesterday with somebody who was asking, why is Kannapolis not a part of Cabarrus County Schools? Why are we our own school system? And I don't really know all of the history behind that. And honestly, at this point, I don't care. But the unique thing about Kannapolis is that having one middle school and one high school that everybody has to attend, regardless of where you live and how much money your parents make, makes a difference.
Right.
And so when we stop letting your zip code determine what the school gets, then there'll be better schools. And so the problem that we have right now in most other cities, even within Cabarrus County and Cabarrus County school side, depending on your zip code will tell you how nice the school is.
Mm-hmm.
And communities have even built their own schools because they didn't want to be a part of the school. And I just think if we are more intentional as community members of holding our leaders accountable and making sure that the public school dollars are equitable and spread fairly across the county, so that we're not trying to all get our kids into this school because this school has all of these things that we want to see our child have. But we're making sure that every school has these different programs. And when there are specializations that one school has over another, it's fair access that everybody who has interest in that really has a fair opportunity to be there. And again, I think that comes from parents being very involved with the schools and having a relationship with their child's teacher, with the administrators, and all of us working together and getting back to that village concept.
Right.
Because I think that's what's missing.
Your local barbershop is a place to go for a nice haircut, shape up, or just a little off the top, traditionally speaking. Rice and Ruck, master barbers at Klippah Talk, have combined their interest in hair design, community events, and social awareness to bring you more than just a traditional barbershop experience. Come enjoy a welcoming family atmosphere where no one is a stranger, a place to collectively discuss issues that affect our lives and that affect our community, and a place you can get a really nice cut. But don't take our word for it. Come see for yourself. You'll find that we're more than just a barbershop. Come experience the difference at Klippah Talk.
What's going on? Yeah, what's going on?
Right.
That,
I think what's what is
and the lack of education in a lot of parents is hurting because they didn't take school. Like, I'm involved when my kids were in school. We were involved in that school, but me personally, I didn't take school serious when I was in school. So a lot of the other parents I know, or some of my peers in my age group that didn't take school or take education serious, their kids don't either. So I think a lot of times, man, as a community, we need to build each other up, to push each other into education and pushing the kids. Because I know me and Rice in the shop, like, we talk to kids about their education a lot. Like, we uplift them, we try to push them to do better. And a lot of times, the ones that take it in, they'll come in and they just like the praise, and get whatever we do for them when they show us their report card or whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think that's another big problem that we have in our community.
And I think that I wouldn't necessarily blame parents as much as I do society.
Yeah.
A society that doesn't value education. Because, my parents, I'm a first generation college student. Look, I tell folks a lot of times, I'm a first generation high school graduate. My dad had maybe a 5th grade education formally.
Right.
Now he's probably, had one of the best educations possible from the School of Hard Knocks. But as far as a formal education, I'm coming from folks who may have successfully made it through 5th or 6th grade.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that his lack of education hindered us as much as society's lack of emphasis on education.
Right.
Kind of hinders us in what we do. And so having folks who encourage it, who make school fun, who make it a priority. Right. The fact that kids could come here to the barbershop and there's some emphasis on education, have some books. Make sure that you have some books around so that kids are sitting and they can pick up a book instead of be glued to a screen or an iPad or, how to their phone, right? And just, pick up a book and make sure that is what we are promoting across the board. I think across the board. And so, there's a lot of folks feel like I ain't getting nothing out of school. And so, I just want to get old enough to drop out and then be done with it. Right. And so we've got to put some focus on just kind of making school fun. Like one of the things that I miss, and I probably would still be in the public school system as an educator if North Carolina didn't pay us so poorly and treat us so poorly.
Right.
I came down here and I lost, rights as a teacher. Like, I was assigned to bus duty. I was assigned to lunch duty. I didn't even get to have lunch with my adult friends because I had to sit and eat lunch with my class. And I didn't understand that whole concept. But teachers had no rights and they were paid so poorly, and I could not stay in the field where I couldn't thrive. Right. But I love teaching. And it's sad that you can't thrive in that profession. Right. And so again, it goes back to making sure that we honor the profession enough so that people will continue to get degrees in education and want to go on and be educators. But right now, we're not doing that. And then we've got the media, we got movies and we got even entertainers, talking smack about, well, I'm gonna make more than you, saying this to teachers.
Right.
You got students already saying, because what they get from larger society is that there's no honor in what you're doing.
Right. I've heard, and what's the sad part is, I've heard some people say that they have been told that you're nothing but a babysitter. And this is coming from kids who don't, so that rhetoric has to be coming from the household.
Right. And there's a saying that those who can do and those who can't teach, and something like that. That's terrible, because I was a person who, I was literally, my major in college was English education. I wanted to teach English because I loved, that was the one thing in school that I enjoyed. And so that's what I wanted to do. I didn't get stuck with a job because I couldn't do anything with my degree. I actually was an English education major and I was doing what I wanted to do. But I met so many people along the way who that was just the only job they could get.
Right.
And it was very disheartening as a young professional to work with people who don't even respect what they're doing.
Right.
And so we've got to tighten up our education system. We have to have incentives for people to want to teach. And then, like in North Carolina, you can, even to be a substitute teacher, I don't even think you have to, I think you might have to have a high school diploma. You might not need that. I'm not really sure. But we need to put the honor into that and respect the teachers, respect the schools, and then we have to change the culture.
Right.
And changing cultures is very hard.
Mm-hmm.
But it starts with leadership that puts the emphasis where it needs to be.
Right.
But we don't have those leaders in our community. And
Well, I'm here.
where? Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But
I haven't gone anywhere, and I'm trying to be and I've never believed that I needed to have a title to be a leader.
Right.
And I don't. I still don't, because whether I'm going to win this election, even though the odds are against me, I'm running against the Senate Majority Leader. He's got lots of money to put into the campaign. I am a grassroots organizer. My husband is my campaign manager. I'm dealing with just the support of my friends and family, and I'm going to win this still because I'm willing to do the work. I will knock every door in Cabarrus County to make sure these people know who I am and what I stand for, and that they know that what I stand for crosses all color lines. It crosses all class lines. It crosses all nationalities. We want the basics.
Right.
We all want the basics, and that's how you opened up this whole conversation, right? And so when we all recognize that just the simple things that absolutely everybody needs to thrive is what I'm seeking to make sure we get, you can't not vote.
Right.
But what we've got to do is we got to get folks out there to vote.
Right.
Because what will stop me and the many other sisters is 10 African-American women on the ballot in Cabarrus County this time. Unprecedented. We've got myself running for Senate District 34. We have Diamond Staten Williams running for House Representative 73. She's sitting in that seat as our representative now, first African-American, first woman to hold that seat for District 73. We've got Joanne Chesley, who will be representing the Kannapolis area. That's House 83. And we've got Sabrina Berry, who is House 82. So that's one senator and 3 House representatives running, all African-American women. We've got 2 African-American women running for county commissioners. Unprecedented. We have not had anybody of any hue other than white on our county commissioners. We've got 2 African-American women running for county commissioners. We have 3 women of color running for the school board. These are all positions that people don't usually pay attention to. And if I probably asked you right now, who's your current rep? What Senate district are you in? What House district are you in? Most people don't even know.
Right.
But these are the people who make decisions about you. Not the president,
Right.
not even the governor.
Right.
These folks that sit in these local positions, and half of the time we don't even know what their name is.
Right.
And so we have a unique opportunity where there are 10 of us on the ballot. And if I can get all my supporters to come out to vote for me, to also vote for Diamond if they're in that district, or to also vote for Joanne if they're in that district, to make sure they vote for Juanita Boger Allen, who is our first and only African-American judge in the Cabarrus District Court judge.
Amen.
If we can all pull our support together and folks show up and come out, there's no way we can't win this. But if we have folks who decide it don't matter,
Right.
got 2 old guys running for president, Biden done pulled out, that stuff matters, but not as much as we matter.
Right.
Not as much as the people here. And so we gotta get people educated enough to know how important these local elections are.
Right.
And get them out there so that folks, because right now, we don't have an emphasis on that. Folks don't know. People couldn't name a county commissioner if their life depended on it. And if they do, it's because their name has been in there for something terrible. It's not for good things.
Right.
And so we've got to change that culture here where we're paying attention to those folks. Folks sitting around in the barbershop talk, right?
Right.
They should be talking about the fact that, we got a sister running for Senate.
Right.
That should be the common discourse. We got folks on the school board. They're running for school board, yes.
Right.
And we need them to get on the school board because they're going to be the ones that make the difference so that school is respected and that it is a place that children actually want to go and they can get the type of education that they need. Those are going to be the people who decide whether we bring shops back to school.
Right.
Whether we have these certain electives that the kids need so that, one thing, I'm sure they exist, but how cool would it be for there to be a class for barbers at A.L. Brown High School?
Right.
And at one of your days a week, you all went over there and we're paid
Right.
to help those kids come out because they thriving and they want to do that. Like, how cool would it be to have those type of relationships in the community?
Right. Yeah. And it's like mentorship.
Yeah.
And we offer that. Like with young men, we talk to them about the various, everybody, a Biggie said it a long time ago in a rap lyric. He was talking about it was either selling drugs or had a wicked jump shot. So, and if you look at it today, most of our kids want to rap. They want to they want to rap. They want to play ball. And
On the street.
we're sick and tired of it.
Right.
Like a kid, I talk to kids all the time when they come in just to see where their headspace is. And I'm going to say 90% of the kids want to do something entertaining. And we need to retool that way of thinking. And I think that hearing you speak that passion that you have in this district will help bring those changes. And
Absolutely.
I'm a hard person to win over because, your husband, he'll tell you a lot of times, I know he'll say, man, that boy crazy. I don't know what he talking about today. Because, I'm a person who I break down everything. Like a lot of people, now I don't know your perspective on Project 2025, I think they're speaking on. I've read it and I see a lot of things in it that are meant to harm us or to harm a sector of people. But I'm such a free thinker to where I look at it like some of those things will make us better because we've been handicapped. Like we're strong people, but if somebody can sit at home and you give them a little bit and they get comfortable with that. But, I see a lot of things in that too, where like, if some of the things were done, like the part about the discrimination I was reading, me, myself, I would prefer a person tell me, I don't want you in my business, so I'm not spending money with your business. You see them? But, a lot of people, they take that way of thinking like, I look at it like we're forcing. It's hard to force somebody to like you. They would tolerate you, and I think that's what we are in America. We're in a state of tolerance rather than genuine caring and love.
All right. Well, I will say that I could never and I would never, ever see anything good coming out of the Heritage Foundation
Right.
and that
I
number
agree.
45 president. So therefore, I fail to believe that there is any ounce of anything redeemable in that Project 2025. And I know especially for people that look like you and me, it would not be of any advantage for us. And so I absolutely could not find anything redeemable about any of it. And I haven't, I heard all of the popular discourse about it, but just knowing its roots and where it's coming from is enough for me to know that I want no parts of it.
943 pages.
Yeah. And
That's
so,
scary.
and as a woman who has 4 young adult daughters who need to have the same opportunities and be able to make the same choices so that they can thrive that I have, I cannot see my children lose more rights, like to have to fight for body autonomy in 2024, for them to overturn Roe versus Wade, and with that Project 2025, there's whole talk about the things that they would do. I don't believe that that's a decision for government to make. And I don't want to see women in this district, my children, or women anywhere else have to be at a place where they've got to flee the state, flee the country now, because this would be nationwide in order to get the health care that they need, in order to make the decisions that they want to make. And so I think that we should be doing everything in our power to make sure that that convicted felon does not become the next president. Because while I do believe in second chances and working with people who have been incarcerated, those folks have all served their time and been through a whole process so they can be better. And he's had nothing for his 34 convictions. So tell me, how is he rehabilitated that he should be able to hold the highest seat in the world, but my brother can't get a job because he got to check a box to say that he's a convicted felon? So, no, I can't. I can't get behind it. I can't even pretend that there might be a glimmer of anything good in that Project 2025, because everything with them is self-serving and it's discriminatory and it's classist, and it is designed, like this whole system of white supremacy has been designed, to keep us at the bottom and to elevate folks who don't look like us. And so with that being my clear understanding, I could not.
Right.
I could not.
So I'm going to step back for a second, because you said something about when you was naming the people that's for the school and standing out. So me personally, the few times that I voted, I didn't know anybody. So as far as campaigning and putting their names out, I'm going to say, why don't they do it? But I'm sure they are. It's just not reaching our communities.
Right. And I think that they are, and they're trying to get there, and they just need an end. Mm-hmm. Just like I wouldn't be here if my husband didn't come over here and get a cut. Mm-hmm. But I'm coming through, I'm coming around. I done peeked in here a couple of times waiting on him, trying to figure out what was taking him so long, coming in and out. But it is important to get the name out there. Mm-hmm. And it's different for us because you probably get a ton of stuff in the mail by other opponents who have the money to do that, but that stuff is expensive. I can't afford to do a mail-in to every constituent in this district and say, hey, I'm Dr. Kim Sexton-Lewter, vote for me. But I'll make it my business to get over here and come and do this podcast, on a Sunday after church. And I will go to this church, and I've been visiting churches every Sunday and trying my best to be in the community and to take advantage of those times, because we don't have the outreach that millions of dollars in our campaign can help for us. And so when I tell you that that they're out there just like I am, and we're trying to share each other's names. That's why I'm not going to go somewhere and not talk about all those other people on the ballot. And I'm hoping that they're doing the same thing and saying my name when they get to the places that they get to. But it also takes for us to carry those names on. And so for people to know. So where do you live?
I stay in Kannapolis.
Okay, you live in
I
Kannapolis.
stay in Rowan County side.
On the Rowan County side. Okay, so you stay on the Rowan County side. Joanne Chesley will be your, she will be running for your House of Representatives, Joanne Chesley. You won't get to vote for me for Senate because I'm only Cabarrus County. How about you?
I live in Mecklenburg.
Okay, you live in Mecklenburg. And Mecklenburg, y'all have a lot of progressive folks on the ballot there, you know, a little bit of, you know, just, it's a little easier for folks in Mecklenburg County. However, it matters what happens next door because your senators and your representatives can't get anything passed when there's a super majority that's blocking everything that's coming through. And they're just voting as a block vote and going along with stuff that's regardless. They don't even matter if it's like they passed the legislation that you can't wear a mask in person in public anymore. They criminalized wearing a mask in public. And unanimously, those Republicans all voted for it. Not making a concession for somebody who is maybe currently has COVID or somebody who is immunocompromised because they are dealing with cancer or some other ailment where you just want to take that extra precaution for yourself.
Right.
And not one person said, nah, we can't do that.
Right.
But they made an exception for secret societies.
And that,
Yeah.
Is that not a slap in your face? What secret society do you belong to where it is okay for you to wear your mask, but we don't want anybody else to wear a mask in public? And you know, this has come out of all of the protests and things that were going on across the nation, and law enforcement were complaining that they couldn't identify people because they had masks on. Okay, so let's pass legislation that says people can't wear masks, even though we haven't had any of those protests here in North Carolina.
Right.
We just want to be copycat folks and do what we see other folks doing. But that's for us. That's for Black folks. That's so they can identify us and they can pull, because they're not going to care if they see other folks walking around with a mask on. That's so they can have a legitimate reason to harass us. And that makes no sense. And that there was not one person that says we can't do that in the midst of a public health crisis. COVID is not over. There's a ton of different reasons why somebody might want to wear a mask just to be extra safe. And we're going to try to pass legislation and criminalize it. And yeah, they got a lot of pushback when they put it out there. But how come on the front end, there was nobody there to say we can't do that, y'all?
Not engaged.
And so there's a problem with that. But yeah, we have to do better with folks knowing, and we as candidates, I mean, we just do what we can. We're only one person.
Right.
We're only one person. But if folks are willing locally to say, you know what, we'll keep some of your stuff in here so folks can see it when they come through, I guarantee you there's not one of them that won't come over here and put it in and put their stuff in here. And sharing that's back to that community organizing thing. Because one of the things, you know, like there's all this talk, you know, folks really think that Black men are going to vote for Trump because that's what the polls say. I'm sitting here with 4 Black men in this room. How true is that?
Right.
I mean, is it true? Are you feeling like that's the candidate for you?
I'm researching because from my perspective, I look at like 4 years back, 4 years present, and the debate kind of made me question, who am I going to vote for? Because if I'm looking at the condition of Joe, and I'm saying to myself, who's been running the country? Because Joe's not in condition to do it. You know, that was the thought going through my mind watching Joe when he did the debate. And I'm like, you have not been running this country. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't push me to say I have a clear view of who I'm voting for, it almost made me want to write myself in just you know what I'm saying, just to participate in the voting. You know, we joke about that a lot. You know, like, man, I feel like I know who else I'm voting for, but when it comes to the presidential seat, like, I'm stuck. You know.
Well, I would say that, based on the information we got this afternoon, we know that, I believe I saw credible sites that Biden has stepped down. And so, we're going to see who our Democratic nominee is going to be. It's unfortunate that, we get stuck in these parties thing.
Right.
But
Right.
I don't care who it is. I will not be voting for no.
Right. That's why I said I will write in myself just to participate in the voting process.
So, and that's to say, to write yourself in, I wish we could take that further. That will make me want to get involved, because that's why Kim Sexton-Lewter is running.
Right.
So that I can put myself in a position where I am like, you know what, I'm sick of voting for the lesser of two evils. Let me go in and put my name in the hat.
Right.
And so I get that. I want folks to be motivated enough that you're so frustrated with what's going on at the top that I'm going to get involved. So one day I can legitimately be the person running up there.
Right.
But, and that's good. That's a good way to deal with frustration with politics, to get involved. And I want everybody to be like, you know what, I can do a better job than them clowns. And you can, which is why I'm running for Senate, because I know I can do a better job than the folks who are currently there. And when it comes to this presidential thing, if you write in your name or anybody's name, you have voted for that person who you didn't have any confidence in to begin with, because you know that writing in that name is not going to get elected. So you've basically taken a vote from whoever, I can't even talk, let's pretend Biden was still in the race. I'd rather see Biden and whoever is running things behind the scene, because those are still things that are working to my benefit, than to see, we already saw what we got in 2016. I am not willing to see this nation go back to that. Now, we know racism is at an all-time high because we had the top commander-in-chief made these folks feel comfortable with calling us out and saying this, that, and the third, and it just was like, as a girl from Brooklyn, I had to check a lot of people who just got comfortable because of who was at the helm.
Right.
And I can't see us go back to that again. I just can't see it. I don't want to even have to imagine what times will be like, but I do understand the frustration.
Right.
Just like, it's like.
Yeah, because like you think about, the reason why I always participate is I think about our forefathers, what they went through to vote. They spit on, some of them hung, some of them killed. So that's why I was saying that I was when I said participate. But yeah, you're right. It's these days and times.
But we need you to get out there and to actually vote. And if you don't, we need to support. We're gonna find out who is in, because I don't say you vote for anybody blindly, and you don't follow any party blindly.
Right.
But you do look at the issues, and which issues, who at any given time are addressing issues that impact you the most.
Right.
And that's how we should always vote.
Right.
It's unfortunate that we're caught up in these two-party system and everything is, this or that. But we have to look at who, in this particular time, are working towards issues that are important to me. And right now, that's the Democrats. Right now. It's not always going to be them. But right now, that's the Democrats. And that's why I'm comfortable running as a Democrat right now. It's also difficult to run as an unaffiliated person, I've learned.
Right.
And, I think that in a lot of ways, I wish I could do that. But right now, I need the support of a party that has a similar beliefs and is pushing for the same type of things that I am pushing for. And I think that that's important for us to not get caught up in this whole thing, well, neither party ain't really for me. You need to look at those issues and the things that are on the ballot and what really is going to impact your household. And right now, the things that we're talking about as a party, we're talking about affordable housing. We're talking about access to health care. We're talking about livable wages. We're talking about an infrastructure that works for everybody. Your Republican candidates are not talking about that. The only thing they're talking about is infringing on your rights and taking away your civil liberties and extremist type stuff that is sad to think of in 2024. And that is not going to benefit you. It ain't going to benefit white folks either, but we need to at least be smart enough to know we can't fall for that. Well, we can't vote against our own interests. We absolutely can't. And unfortunately, there's a whole lot of people who will, but we've got to be serious. And again, I'm going to do my last little plug because I don't know if we winding down and this or how long. I didn't ask no questions. I just showed up, right? I don't know how long this is supposed to take, but we have to think about those down ballot folks. And so later for the president, we got a crazy man running for governor. We do not want him to be governor of North Carolina. And folks like me who are trying to get in these Senate seats and to get in these House seats and to get in these local seats, we need y'all to come out and get down far enough down the ballot and vote for us to get us in. Right. So that we can make the difference on this community level that we need to make the difference for. Right. And hopefully elevate ourselves so that one day I could be the person who's running for governor of North Carolina.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, we said it. Well, I say send the rest of them over here. Sweet.
Well, Juanita Boger Allen, we gonna say her name. We gonna make sure everybody knows her name. Juanita Boger Allen. She is homegrown Concord. She was raised right in the Logan community. Right. She went to North Carolina A&T. She's like the good homegrown North Carolinian. And that's the thing she has over me because, I'm the transplant. But, she's good people. She, her daughter just is over at UNC Charlotte. That's who knows her. She's my sorority sister. We are good friends. I worked on every single one of her campaigns. My husband, I think the only time you ever catch him wearing a button for somebody, if it wasn't for me, was for Juanita. And it's important that we have representation in that doggone courthouse because there's as many of us that go in there. It's a sad fact that until Juanita, there was never a brown face there.
No, it was. And crazy thing is, I heard the struggles of, I heard some of the strategies that was being used to try to oust her. Mm-hmm. Like, they were rewriting laws to give people opportunities beforehand. Like you're allowed a certain time and restriction to do certain things while you're campaigning. And, I heard that they were allowing opponents to do some of those things beforehand to try to snuff her out before she even got started. So I had reached out. Well, the young man was supposed to reach out for me. I don't know if he did or didn't. But if you would pass the word on, I would love to give her time to, because I want to hear from the inside out, like the day-to-day, what was, like, what are you going through? Let the people know that you need their support. That's really what I was.
Well, I will certainly pass that message on to her, and I'm gonna link her to this so she can see this conversation here. Right. But and I know that she would be willing to come. She would be willing to come because she needs to be reelected. She's been appointed now, and so she's back in the seat, thank God. And she needs to be reelected in November, and we need to make sure we come out and do it. And we did it once,
right? So
we can do it again,
right?
And so we need to. And yes, there was a ton of stuff being done because when they see us in these spaces, they don't like it, and they immediately start working to make sure that it doesn't happen again, which is what they've done with Diamond State and Williams in her House district, where they gerrymandered it so much that they took the strongest African-American middle-class voting piece of Harrisburg. They took it out of her district. So she has to go and win this without her base. But she's still going to win.
Wow.
But this is what they do. They actually pick who gets to vote for them because they have this majority in the Senate, and they've done that. And so, I mean, even with Diamond, like in her own neighborhood, I think they left her cul-de-sac and a couple of her neighbors and then took the rest of her subdivision out of her own district.
That's crazy.
That should be a petition. It should be a.
It should have folks mad enough to be like, I don't care who y'all have in the district, I'm going out and voting.
Right.
And so we're not in that district in Kannapolis, but I'll talk to everybody. Well, some parts of Kannapolis are, but we're not on this end. I don't know. Well, definitely not in Rowan.
Right.
But it matters enough. It should anger us enough that we are talking to everybody we know, and we're making sure they go out, because this is what they do. They purposely manipulated the district so that it will be harder for her to win her seat again.
And that's infringement on quote unquote democracy.
Exactly. And that's why we should be like, no, we're not allowing this. We're not going to allow. So we have to show them by going out there and voting and getting enough people to vote anyway. So what? You took the blackest, the most progressive district out and threw it in another district so that their vote won't matter somewhere else.
Right.
And that's what they do to us as a people.
Right.
And that's a problem, that the lawmakers, the people who are in office, are comfortable with doing that they can literally sit and draw the lines the way they want to do it, so they can say, he wouldn't vote for me anyway, so let's take him and put him in this other district,
right?
Because he's not going to vote for us. That is literally what they are doing.
Hey, that goes back to, I hate to keep mentioning past podcasts, but we spoke to another gentleman. He's going to be running for the state house in South Carolina, Mr. Monir Abusaf.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a Democrat that's over the district in Spartanburg, the South Side. And he was speaking of, we was talking to him about, there needs to be a reform, because say for example, if we own this block right here, and we decided somebody wanted to come through and sell, and we say, nah, we don't want to sell, they could petition the county, and they could deem this, we're going to build a highway. When they can't get what they want, humane, by contact, they can use the law.
Oh, yeah.
This needs to be an agenda that's addressed. Like, I would have never known. This is my first time hearing about the gerrymandering to control the vote. I knew about it to put you in the school districts that they wanted you in. But
with the controller. And they don't need a president or governor to do that.
Right.
They need your local folks right here
to
make that happen. And they will use them to make that happen if we don't get us in those seats in these local positions.
So I'm following the money here. And we're seeing there's a lot of wealthy people in these communities. They're taking their money, they're backing the candidate, and while backing the candidate, they're getting perks.
Oh yeah. That's why there's a lot of candidates who are bought and paid for by corporations who decided, you know what, you can retire from here and we'll take care of you. Go ahead and run for this seat, because we can use you better if you're in a General Assembly lobbying for us. Well, they're not lobbying because they are the lawmakers, but if you are secretly our plant there, they'll pay for their whole campaign. And that is the current senator for Senate District 34.
And that's crazy. That is because the voice of the people is being drowned.
Absolutely, because money makes the world go round.
Right.
And that's why I'm going to win this. Right. I'm not going to have the millions of dollars that other people put into the campaign. I can use the support of folks, and it takes folks going ahead and making that $25, $100, whatever they can make to help us and help me and the other candidates get their word out there. But these other folks have whole corporations backing them.
Yeah, but the thing is, if we wake up, if they can get people to back them for their agenda, then we the people can come together to have our agenda. I'm a historian, and so I'm gonna go back to write during the Reconstruction period. During the Reconstruction period, what we're doing now is what our people did then. They would bring in people who were running for seats and running for offices. And they would have a general assembly of people that was taken from the community that understood politics and business and how things ran. And they would sit these people down and they would place in front of them what they were expecting in a candidate. And these candidates, if fit that description, we took our money and we backed that candidate, which in return gave us power during a time when we were deemed less than human. We understood then, but we don't understand now.
Mm-hmm. So we got to get people to get invested and understand.
Right, because I talk to a lot of, I have a versatile group of people that I talk to, on a weekly. And so like, I've heard other communities say, the problem with us is we have no value. We spend our money with no purpose. So that's a message I want to get out to my people. Like, this is why we're treated the way we're treated. This is why we always consider because we take our money and we don't use it for power. Everybody else uses it for power.
Yeah.
So I think you guys being in the position that you are, and if we can surge enough support, this might be an eye opener for communities across the nation.
Absolutely.
So I don't want you, neither one of you young, I'm gonna call y'all young ladies, y'all young ladies on these ballots. I don't want any of you guys to feel like this is a small thing. This is huge. When your husband first told me you was running for seat, my eyes lit up and I asked him, I was like, think you want to come on the podcast? Because to me, I don't take anything light because I know the opposition and what we're up against. And in that glimmer of light that shines in the dark can be seen further, than, you know what I mean? And you guys are turning into the glimmer of light. And I just want to say, me and my partner, we appreciate not only you taking your time, but for you sharing with us and we hearing your struggles and we hearing you gave me a whole political outlook today because I'm a very, very, very hard person to win over. My wife called me stubborn. But I mean,
that's a regular characteristic for men. I'll go ahead and say that for the public eye. Being stubborn is not unique for your
yes,
for your agenda, but I get it.
Yes,
I get it.
Describe the scrutiny and the day in the life that you and your husband have to go through. Because right now you're under a microscope. Mm-hmm. Everybody's waiting to see you do something that can hurt your campaign or something that they can point out and mischaracterize everything that you stand for like your opponent has done. Mm-hmm. So just so that people can understand the pressure that I'm not going to say pressure because we don't see pressure, it just makes us into diamonds. But I'm going to say just the scrutiny that you have to put yourself in, a discipline that you and your husband and your family has attributed to yourselves right now, because if you don't, somebody's just waiting for that.
Right.
Right.
And so I will say that this has been a learning experience for me because, again, as I shared as we first opened up, I've not been on this side of politics. I've been the community organizer. I've been the person highly scrutinizing the folks in those positions. And so it does change now because your life is under a microscope. It changed because I work full time. I have a full-time job that I need to be responsible for 40 hours a week. Most of these folks are retired. They live off their portfolios. They have a lot of money. If I don't go to work, my family doesn't eat, and so it is crazy because I've got to be in the same spaces and reach the same amount of people, and I got to work full time and do it too. And that's why it's hard to get folks at my level or folks in my position to run for these offices because it is another full-time job. Right. And I cannot afford to leave my other job. And so I have to do 2 full-time jobs and the full-time job of being a mother and a wife and a community servant because I'm still that. I still chair the MLK Celebration Committee for Cabarrus County. I still work with the down home, North Carolina, and doing community organizing around different issues that are relevant here. I still work with the NAACP. I still work with the Black Political Caucus. I'm really proud of the fact that we just had our first Juneteenth celebration in Kannapolis. And I still need to be present and accounted for in all of those places while I'm trying to run for office. And it's tough. I still need to, I still need to maintain a household. And I'm just grateful that my husband is my campaign manager. So the work that we're doing is, it kind of brings us closer together because we're spending a whole lot more time together. And it's a distraction from all of the other things that we are dealing with, because I don't know how much my husband shares, but my husband is literally in a battle with cancer right now. So we are back and forth to doctor's office every single week. There's a ton of things going on because life doesn't stop because you're running for office. And so this offers a healthy distraction so that we can, kind of focus on this and not on other things that, are not pleasant to think about. But it's important. We have adult children, and so we're very conscious of them, and how they present, what their social media looks like. But I will say, thankfully, we don't lead the kind of life where we have to scale down a whole lot because, I am pretty much a typical, 53-year-old married woman, I'm not, I don't have to not do a lot of stuff, right? I'm truly doing everything that I still do because I lead a pretty respectable life, I sometimes, I have a little bit of road rage and I'll want to just pull up on somebody. Then I remember I have a big sticker on my car that says who I am. So I'm like, you know what? You probably need to slow down, and you probably need to not mean mug this person as badly as you want to, right?
Don't grab. That's that old Brooklyn.
Right. So, so I'm thankful that sometimes that sticker on the side of my car, I was like, no, they don't know who you are because you are advertising who you are right here.
Right.
But, that part of it is, it is difficult, but thankfully I don't lead the kind of lifestyle that I have a lot to, to hide or a lot to cover up. My children are all young women. They don't really appreciate the fact that everything they do matter, but it does, everything they do. So now it's like they're all a part of the team.
Right.
And so they all have to come to work because I don't have, my team is all volunteer. I don't have a paid staff doing this, that, and the third. So my oldest daughter, who would probably prefer not to have to come to every church with me, but she's always there because not only am I going to speak, I need you at the back of the church handing out my palm cards, talking to people. So they have been put to work. And thankfully, she, is a trooper. She's working with it and she's doing it. Having to get to work every day. But I think the hardest thing is having to ask for money. I absolutely hate having to call people every day and ask, hey, I'm running for this. Can you help me out with something? And it's crazy because strangers who really believe in this process and really know how important it is to see me win this seat will give easily. But I don't have friends who I know for a fact who will buy out the bar and spend $2,000-$3,000 in a night trying to showboat in the party, but won't make $100 donation towards my campaign. And so when we talk about Black folks not really knowing what to do with their money, and I ain't never been the one to try to hustle someone. So if I'm calling asking you to support my campaign, I need your support. I am not trying to build a mansion somewhere or whatever. Like, you know me, that's not what I'm doing, but this is really what I'm dealing with. So, I have people who are like ghosting me now because I asked them for a donation. They were like, okay, I'm going to give you something. And then they ghosted me. Like, I'm like, really? Like, I'm not going to call back, but so many times. But I'm like, really? Because I know you can support this, but we don't really understand as a community all that goes into this because we don't see enough of our friends running for office. So if there's anything that I can do to put it out there for folks, if you have a friend who's running for any kind of political seat, they need your support. They need you to make a monetary contribution to their campaign. And if you truly don't have it and you can't give it, they need you to volunteer. They need you to make phone calls with them, to walk the neighborhood with them, to come to church with them, and make sure that they don't ever show up anywhere by themselves because they need the support. And there's things that you can do. Now, if you can make a financial contribution, you should be making a financial contribution. And I didn't know how much I was going to have to rely on people's financial contribution. And so now that I know, I don't want anybody to not know. And so recognizing that my friends don't know a lot of people who run for office and need to do that. But the simple things like knocking doors and talking to people and advocating for them, like those are ways that you can help. Letting me keep a bunch of palm cards in your business establishment so people can walk by and ask who that is are ways that you can help. There's so many different ways. Somebody who could say, hey, you know what? I'm a graphic designer. Let me design that for you because I don't like the way that looks. Like little things that people can do to help. And for folks to realize how important it is for you to figure out how you're going to help your friend, whether it is your time, whether it is your talent, or whether it is your treasure, however it is, you need to be a support. And so that is a challenge in this because now I'm sitting like a lot of people who, I'm like, I can't believe you ghosted me, because I asked you for a couple of dollars to support my campaign. It's like, oh, I got your back. I'm so proud of you. I want to see you do this, but you ain't wrote no checks yet. So,
Right.
So let's see that happen. And then that's like, an issue for me. One of the things that I would like for it to not be about the dollars when people are running for office. Like, I really wish that there are some nations where you can't spend millions of dollars on a campaign. Everybody is to start off with the same, and it's kind of state sanctioned that everybody gets this amount of money to run their campaign, and it's just all on equal ground. And I think that we would fare better here if we had something like that in the United States. But other than that, there's always somebody who's always at some meeting listening to you speak. Like even now, I feel like I need you to know that this is some golden ginger ale, ginger ale made, and that we're not sitting here sipping like some hip hop thing, because someone will take a clip of this with me holding a cup and she was in the barbershop sipping. Like, I don't even drink, but this is some good ginger ale, and Rice put me onto this, and so I'm excited about that. But I need for the setting because there's, like I have to worry about somebody taking this clip and turning it into something else. Like, we'll have a blunt in our hand next, and they'll be talking about, this is what she's doing. And so that's a reality. There's always somebody recording what you're saying. There's always somebody waiting for you to say something, and they use AI now. And so they can make your words say anything. And so, it is a challenge, but I'm in it. I'm in it. And I suspect that it will get worse as it gets closer to election time. But we're in it. I'm very fortunate to have the support of my family. For my husband to be the master wordsmith that he is, and to sit down and, really help me, for him to be the free thinker that he is. And so that when I want to scrutinize something, I have somebody there that I can talk to that can help me pick it apart and figure out where to go with it. And he's very critical too. You talking about how you're a hard person. He's a hard person to sell too. So getting him and getting his input, because I already know he's going to see the other side of it. He's going to see the conspiracy in it. He's going to see this, that, and the third in it. And it's good for me to have that because I can process it. And that when I'm taking my message out there, I already know I need to speak to certain people differently because they don't want to hear the regular stuff. But thankfully, I live with somebody who I can have those conversations with and prepare me for that. But other than that, it's a journey. It's a journey. And it's incredible to see how this side of politics work. And I just wish that everybody was authentic. And they're not. But I'm offering authenticity. And so I think that's the switch. I think that's the thing that I hope will bait people in, is to have somebody authentic out there that truly, there's nothing in this for me except to build a better tomorrow for the people coming up behind me.
And I couldn't ask for a better, you kind of killed my next question. But I've definitely found out you've been very informative, and your grassroots, I think they're going to turn into trees. So we're going to do all we can, to make sure that the people know that there's a candidate that speaks for them.
I appreciate it.
Yes, and we thank you for your time, and definitely thank you for your words. And we're going to thank you for your future service.
All right. Yes. So we'll be back here November 5th. We have a watch party. You can have one in the barbershop as we watching the elections come on. I want everybody, because I want everybody to feel so connected to this.
Right.
That they are just like, wherever you are, wherever we're doing, let's watch how those votes come in and feel, accountable. Like everybody that came in this barbershop know they voting for Kim Sexton-Lewter. If they don't live in this district, well, we're going to make sure they know who to vote for, where they at. And so that's where they are.
Network.
So I need to know what's going on in Rowan County.
You need to know what's going on in Rowan County. But you got good candidates. Since I live in Kannapolis, and we share, half is Cabarrus County, half is Rowan County. And so we work together to make sure. So I'm excited that I have Joanne Chesley, who's kind of my running mate on this side of town. So we can talk to folks like we're not running against each other. We're running together for these different seats. So, yeah.
So I need to meet. This guy, come on, bring a flyer. Bring a flyer to the shop.
Yes. I sure will. But I'm going to invite all of the candidates to drop some literature off and come in here and talk to you.
Please do.
That's great. Because, anybody that know about Klippah Talk, they know that we structure the very foundation of what we believe is to give back to the community. And we don't put giving in a box. Giving has different facets. It's like we have different avenues of giving, whether it's back to school, whether it's everybody come in, we have a conversation that could change your lives. And now we just open up another door. Like, hey, if this could be the center for people that's running, and they can come in and drop off literature and talk to us and give us what you just gave us, give us an idea of what you stand on. Because not only, there are a lot of issues that people use for distractions, but the issues that you just explained to us are not distraction. These are everyday common, things that we deal with on a day-to-day. And I thank God for you, because a lot of people, they don't get into politics for the right reasons. But you're genuine. The conversation that we had is just genuine. And we thank you for that.
Thank you. And I hope that everybody who logs in and watches your podcast will learn some more about me. Regardless of where you live, we can use your support. Check out my website. It's KimSexton-Lewter.org. It's KimSextonLewter.org. Learn more about my platform and how you can support this campaign, whether you want to make a financial contribution, whether you I want to get out there and knock doors with you, whether you want to phone bank with us, whatever, any way, shape, or form. Maybe you want to help drive people to the polls, because one of the things that we don't want to happen is for people to not vote because they couldn't get to the polls. And so anyway, in any capacity, if you want to help support this campaign and the others of us who are running to support you in this municipality, hit us up, KimSexton-Lewter.org, and let's get together.
We thank you very much.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.